Hi everybody, Coulter Brown here on the Northern Ag Network. We're wrapping things up here at the Montana Soil Health Symposium, and a great event and a heck of a turnout. I guess the nice weather helps that. Joined here by Jeff Sather from Larslan, Montana. And Jeff, you presented to the group here on some of the changes you've made to improve soil health, using some of those regenerative ag practices. And I guess to start us off, what does that mean? If you're telling someone we use regenerative ag on our farm, what does that mean to you?
To me, it would be improving life or increasing life instead of just constantly killing. So what we've done is introduce compost extracts where we're putting new microbiology out into our crop fields and into our pastures. Intensive grazing, where we're improving animal health by moving them more frequently, keeping them eating new grass versus making them eat it down to the ground. There's so much more that goes into it. That those are some of the biggest ones, especially the compost and not killing and improving life. So
sure. Well, you've made a lot of changes here over the last 5 to 6 years. Why did you feel it was necessary? What were some of the big changes or the impetus that made you think we got to do some things differently here?
Mainly money. Crop inputs had gotten out of hand, and we weren't seeing the benefit from them anymore. I can't remember exactly what the cost per acre was, but I came down here to their first soil health symposium. I had done an online course and wanted to try something new. Talking with some guys down here, they're like, well, just cut back on some of the fertilizer and give it a try. And I went home and I said, we're just done. We're not buying it anymore. And the savings that first year, granted, we went into a drought, so nothing really grew, but I had saved all of that money from those inputs and now have been able to buy some equipment to make like the compost extracting easier and improving our operations. We're still learning. Every year is an experiment. Every year we're continuing to do something new, and yeah, it makes it fun again, and it was no longer fun. I was ready to be done, and now I look forward to it. So.
Well, that is so cool. I know Marnie Thompson would be thrilled to have you say you came here and then you made some changes. That's what she's looking for. But for people that were, in the shoes you were a few years ago, where do you start? That's sometimes the big thing. They like what you're doing now, but boy, to get to that point seems daunting.
Start experimenting. Cut back on the phosphorus, or even just come to something like this and get a little taste for it. And I would not recommend doing what I did as far as just cutting the synthetics, just cold turkey, but cut it back and seed half a field or a quarter of a field at half rate, across 3-4 different rates, and then see what the yield actually ends up being, and keep track of your numbers so that you know what kind of savings you had. And you may find out that your yield didn't drag that much for the amount of money you saved on the inputs. And the other thing we did, we stopped fungicide. We stopped treating our seed with fungicide and pesticides. And by improving the microbiology in the soil, I feel that they are there to compete with it, so there's no longer that sick plant there that those funguses can attack. That's a big savings right there. Again, now if you know you have it and it's been there, I'm not making any recommendations here. Try it. Just try it. You might find out that you really didn't need it. But again, if you keep track of that dollar amount, you may find that it was worth it.
Well, and I think something a lot of people would ask is, does it work? And you have to look at it from a few different perspectives. I mean, profits are what got you into this deal, but then you consider from a soil health standpoint and just quality of life. So is it working for you when you measure all those outcomes?
Yes. We did a 5-year soil testing intensive rotation through NRCS, and every year we did a soil sample. Every year we did PLFA, and we increased our PLFA over the course of that 5 years. We increased our organic carbon. We increased our bacteria and our fungal population. We increased our mycorrhizal fungi population. We had none when we started. And at the end of 5 years, we had some that showed up on the test. Not where I'd like it. Well, we're not there yet. But we have it now. It is working. And when you can go and actually harvest a crop on very little rain and very little inputs, that tells me it's working. So, and it's profitable. We're profitable. So I don't need to have the 50 bushel crop if I don't have 60 bushel worth of inputs into it. You know, if I've got a 15 bushel input and I cut a 20 bushel yield, I made 5 bushels. Whatever the price happens to be, I made that amount. So at the end of the day, that's what you need. You can't go broke if you're making money.
That's well said. Jeff, I appreciate you sharing your perspectives. I think this is my favorite thing about the Soil Health Symposium. You get to hear from fellow producers what works and what doesn't work. So thank you for sharing that perspective.
You betcha.
For the Northern Ag Network, I'm Coulter Brown.